library cut by $25,000. Huh? No, not allowance. The other goofball, Schultz or Shaw or... Ooh, I called him out. I sent a note in for him. Came out and said, "You want to see me?" I said, "Yes." He said, "What you want?" I said, "Could you walk over here with me a minute?" So would you read that up there about the library? Where law ends, tyranny begins.
April 23rd meeting of the Des Moines Park and Recreation Board will come to order, please. Rebecca, would you call the roll, please?
Galloway.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Gill.
Present.
Ogle.
Here.
Facto.
Here.
Nolan.
Here.
Cahill.
Here.
Kasich.
Here.
George.
Here.
Scavo.
Here.
Thornton.
Here.
Feltner.
Here.
We have a quorum. Before we get to the agenda, there's a couple of things to talk about. First, there's a couple of cards making the rounds. One is a thank you for Cindy Chen. Her last meeting was last month. And the other, we received the sad news that Kevin Moran's father passed away. So that's the reason for the other card.
Moran's?
And our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Also, we need to talk about the July meeting. Our regular July meeting will be the night that Ragbri is in town, which means that we can't meet that night for a variety of reasons. One, staff will be all tied up with things related to Ragbri, and secondly, the traffic jams downtown would be unbelievable. So we have to move the July meeting. The question is, what dates do we move it to? Ben has done some research. Actually, the only two good options are both Wednesday nights, Wednesday, July 24th, and Wednesday, July 31st. 24th and the 31st. So I thought we would take a survey and see
24.
who's good on those dates versus who's not good on those dates. And
Oh, July, God.
they're both Wednesdays.
24th.
Same time as
For the
normal,
31st.
5 p.m., same location.
I know I'll be gone the 31st, so.
Okay, so one person's gone. Anybody else gone the 31st?
July, wait.
Nobody else gone the
Oh,
31st?
that's right.
How about the 24th? Anybody planning to be gone?
24 is okay.
Nobody planning to be gone on Wednesday, July 24th?
Sorry, what's Ragbri dates?
Tuesday, the 22nd, or 23rd, sorry, is Ragbri. So this would, the 24th would be the day after Ragbri, to give you a perspective.
Day after Des Moines. Yeah.
Yep.
For me, the 31st works better than 24th, so I'm going to be on Ragbri.
Are you going to
but-
be on, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to be on
Sure.
Ragbri,
Yeah.
part of it.
Okay, so we have
We
one
may
person
not be
gone
able to
on
finish
the 31st and one person gone on the 24th. Okay. That doesn't help us a bit.
Flip a coin.
Susan Koenig-Gunahar said she would be late. Why don't we wait and see what her availability is, although
Oh,
she might be gone for both dates, but we'll see what she says. Kind of use that as a tiebreaker. Okay. Next, let's talk about the agenda. Now, on the first thing, we're waiting for Chris Hensley to arrive.
Correct.
So why don't we hold that off until she gets here? So why don't we talk about the minutes? Well, first, let's
Oh,
approve the agenda, except we're going to postpone the presentation until she gets here. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes. I move the agenda as amended.
second.
Any further changes or suggestions about the agenda? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved as amended. And Dick mentioned that he might have to leave early because of something going on at the Hill. Well, it looks like we've got plenty of people here, so go ahead and leave whenever you need to, Dick. Okay, let's talk about the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, changes, corrections, additions, or anything else about the minutes?
That's the way to go.
I just have, I guess, one question, and I should have been listening more closely, but in reference to the bird watching from March through May at 11 o'clock, what day is that again? Wednesday. Okay. Thank you.
So to clarify what we're talking about, every Wednesday, March through May, at 11 o'clock, there is bird watching at Grays Lake. Is that
Correct.
right?
There's programmed bird watching. We've got a great local volunteer that comes down there and takes you through the experience. So if you come to Grays Lake, be down there between 11 and 11:45 on Wednesdays and check it out. It's a great program.
And whereabouts at Grays Lake?
Do we know where we meet? Is it?
It switches now. It starts at the beach and then it switches right about now on the exact beach, the southeast corner. Depending on the beach or back into the migratory birds.
Okay, South Beach and then the southeast corner, okay?
Yep.
For those at home, follow us on Facebook. We post all these great programs weekly leading up to the events and where they're going to be. So if you're a Facebook person, check it out. We'll post all that great information there too.
Okay, anything else about the minutes? And Marion, I assume that was not a correction that had to be made to the minutes, that was just an informational thing? Okay, great. Okay, all in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes of the previous meeting are approved. Next, we'll move on to Ben's report.
Great. If Tiva would walk up and we'd have our staff run through this. Our first one is National Kids to Parks Day, a national event that happens in many park and rec agencies across the nation.
Good evening, Chairman Galloway, members of the Park and Recreation Board, Tiva Dawson, Recreation Manager. Yeah, I'm here to tell you about a National Day of Outdoor Play that we are participating in with the National Park Trust called the National Kids to Parks Day. The day actually encourages kids across the country to get out and explore their neighborhood parks, discover the history, nature, and adventure that might be right around the corner. We are celebrating in Des Moines by having a kite fest at Grays Lake. And thanks to Jen, our marketing gal, she puts a logo on almost anything she can. So we're actually giving away 100 kites at the Kite Fest on May 18th at Grays Lake Park. And it's from 2 to 4. We will also have another volunteer who will be out there, Jim Taylor, who is going to do a demonstration of a lot of the kites that he has. He's flown them very high, and he'll do a demonstration, but also share some tips on how to fly your own kite up high. So we actually, as a gift to all of you, brought some extra kites for you guys to be able to take home with you, if you don't mind passing that around. So you can fly and also be promoting the Parks Department that we know you love so much. There's handles for you. Any questions about this event? Encourage folks to come out on May 18th.
We're at on Grays Lake.
That's a good question. I believe they usually are at the beach somewhere where it's more open, but we'll have signs up.
Okay.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tiva.
Joe, with your permission, I'd like to back up to our presentation and start that if you and the rest of the board does not mind.
Sounds good.
Well, I'm going to ask Steve Jordison, the Executive Director of the Iowa Park and Recreation Association, to step forward and come to the podium. A while back, we hosted, about 2 weeks ago, the annual spring conference for the Iowa Park and Rec Association. A few were able to join us for the conference educational sessions as well as our awards banquet. And I'm happy to announce, and I'll let Steve do the fun part of this job, that one of our board members received a really nice award that recognizes this person for their above and beyond contributions to the quality of life in their community, specifically speaking on the Park and Recreation Board. So, Steve?
Thank you, Chairman Galloway and Park and Recreation Board and Director Ben Page. It's a pleasure being here today representing the Iowa Park and Recreation Association.
What are we going to do with him?
Our association represents 125 municipal park and rec agencies throughout the state of Iowa. Actually, when you combine all of the population of each of those cities, we represent over 2 million residents of the state of Iowa. So we're very excited to be here this evening to present one of your board members a prestigious award through our association. And we're also very thankful, and I'm not sure if Ben's alluded to this fact before, but our association was just here, matter of fact, 2 weeks ago today. Many of you were here that evening at the awards banquet that occurred 2 weeks ago tonight. We're at the beautiful Hy-Vee Hall at the Iowa Event Center, and that is probably one of the most fantastic facilities that our association has been involved with. And I want to let you know that your staff with the department is one of the top-notch departments in the state of Iowa. You know, members of that planning team are, of course, Ben Page, Tiva Dawson, Cab Moran, Matthew Salvatore, I'll have to look back, Tiva Dawson, Jen Fletcher, Ron Ward, sorry, Ron Ward. And I know there was a couple other staff members that were also part of it, which was Richard Brown. He was also part of it. Speaking, I know for sure, was Mindy Morrow, Brian Becker, John Hagner, Robin was there too. Who am I missing? Julie, there you are. Sorry, I didn't see you. And Jill Burke participated too. She just started part of their staff. So personally, from behalf of my association, I think we should give them a round of applause for all of their work they did on getting this conference off. It does take a team effort to be able to do that, but also part of a team effort recognizes individuals who go beyond the call of duty, not when they're paid staff, but when they're volunteers that step up and reach out to the local community. And it's my honor here today to present with you another award, as I was here several years ago for when Don Tripp received our highest association's award, the Richard J. Slattery Award. This individual is part of your park board. The Claude Arns Community Service Award is given to recognize a layperson outside of our profession who has supported and contributed to the strengthening of programs and resources within his or her community, area, or state. Claude Arns, who is one of the founders of Miracle Playground, stated it best: "We should leave it better than we found it." Our honoree today obviously shares the same ideal, showing significant leadership and insight by serving their community in many ways. This year's recipient has been a member of the Des Moines Park and Recreation Board for 14 years, serving as chair for nearly 7 years of them. He is co-founder of the city's Friends Parks Foundation, started a Park and Recreation Board subcommittee to address budget cuts, challenging city staff and policymakers to find creative solutions to serve budget reductions rather than reducing services. Attends the majority of the city council meeting as a Parks and Recreation advocate, and as a contributor and supporter of various park improvement projects, such as an accessible boat dock and accessible playgrounds. The nomination letter states, "This person is highly skilled at listening and assimilating citizen input in a fair and diplomatic manner, has intuitive knowledge of business principles, strategic planning, community relations, and consensus building." In addition, this individual serves as a member of the Trails and Greenways Committee, as a board member of the American Discovery Trail, and is co-chair of the Central Iowa Greenways Committee. A city council member wrote, "This individual has been a tireless advocate and volunteer on behalf of the citizens of our city for improved parks and trailways. A true leader with vision and the ability to develop consensus, which is not an easy task, particularly when emotions are high." Your former director of Parks and Recreation, Don Tripp, said this in his letter of support: "This is the most effective and committed Parks and Recreation volunteer or policymaker I have worked with in my career. I have always admired his measured and wise approach to problem solving and cannot think of anyone more deserving of the recognition. I'd like to announce today that your chairman, Mr. Joe Galloway, was recipient of the Claude Arns Community Service Award for 2013. Congratulations, Mr. Galloway.
I'd also like to offer Christine Hensley, our council member, that was pivotal in this nomination with our team of staff to write this, to come to the podium if she'd like to say anything about Mr. Galloway. Thank you for being here tonight, too.
My pleasure. I don't get to stand on this side very often. When Ben called and asked, or sent me an email and asked if I would be willing to write a letter of recommendation for Joe, there was absolutely no doubt about it, because as indicated by the comments made here tonight, he's been a tireless volunteer and advocate for parks in the city of Des Moines, and appreciate it very much. And I know your term is coming to an end here, but just wanted to personally thank you on behalf of the city and the council and the citizens of Des Moines for everything that you've done. and the leadership that you've provided Parks and Rec. So thank you, and I know it's been a great team effort. It can't be done by just one person. It takes everybody to be at the table to make things happen. So congratulations, Joe, and honor well deserved. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Steve, and thank you, Chris, for the kind words. Teamwork was mentioned, and it's really been a pleasure to work with the A-team, both the park board members and the staff. It hasn't been hard work, it's been easy work with such a great team. It's been my pleasure, and I think I've gotten the better part of the bargain. What I've put in, what little bit that has been returned to me many times over. So I'm just thankful to have been able to be a small part of a great team effort, and it's really been the highlight of my life, and I'm really grateful for that and for all your support, and so just thank you very much.
Thank you. Quick picture, if you guys would come to the front maybe, and then Christine, if you would join us, we want to get a picture. I know Amy wants to get the picture too, but I want to make sure Joe has a good night to remember this. So if you want to step forward. Steve too, if you'd be up here with us. Yeah, if everybody just, we'll try to fit you in the front maybe real quick here, if everybody would come up to the front. Or do you want to come up to the front? Yeah, all of you. I think Joe would like to have all of you in a picture. Watch your hands, right? Get the front, Nick. It's all okay. Blake, get the front.
I know I do that.
All right. See you, Brandon. Vince. Vince. See you, Vince. We say dream team when Joe said on point. Come on, Ben. It's a dream team. I'll sneak in. Put the two ball away in hand.
Yeah, that gives some time to think. I know.
Richard, why don't you come up, we'll get going here.
Okay, thank you everyone for the kind words. My cup overfloweth. So again, it's been really a great pleasure, and thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll see if Richard can follow that up with our next item on the preview to the Star Index Community Program. This is another initiative that the city's working on through the mayor and council's office and the city manager to look at how we are greening our community. It's much like those of you who are all familiar with the LEED building and the LEED program. This looks at your city in general as not just from buildings, but to the way you treat stormwater, to the way your ordinances are read for development to make sure you're a green community.
Chairman Galloway, members of the Park and Recreation Board, Richard Brown, Park Planner 3. Like Ben just said, we as the City of Des Moines have been fortunate to participate in the development of essentially what is a lead for assessing communities across the country. We've been one of a handful, probably about 10 to 20 communities that have been working for the past couple of years to develop an assessment and rating program to determine how sustainable cities are as a whole. So we've been working with them, and they've really developed 7 goal areas: built environment, climate and energy, economy and jobs, education, arts and community, equity and empowerment, health and safety, and natural systems. And within each one of those categories, they've developed kind of scoring areas that help us to assess how we're doing, how we look at our community on a sustainability standpoint. And the Parks and Recreation Department will be a key part of assessing and rating the city of Des Moines as we go through this kind of rating process and testing out kind of the assessment tools and rating tools that they found. And within the built environment, they found a really great, easy one for us to test to kind of see how the scoring system works out as they start to develop it. And one of those was public spaces. With its goal is to create a network of well-used and enjoyable parks and public spaces that feature equitable, convenient access for residents throughout the community. So they threw that to the city of Des Moines and said, why don't you look at your park and open space system and see how you're doing based on this rating system. There were 15 total points available, and they put it into 4 outcomes and then local actions completed. So they wanted to assess on some very physical and tangible items with the community and how well we serve based on our physical facilities. So they went through 4 outcomes. The first one was acreage. How much public acreage is there available for the citizens? And we were able to count waterworks, Polk County land, as well as City of Des Moines land. That totaled out to be about 6,200 acres, or about 30.5 acres per 1,000 residents. The outcome level we had to meet in order to get those points was 20.3, so we were able to achieve that outcome. One thing to note is that schools serve the community through parks and recreation facilities with playgrounds and open spaces. We all know that. But for the purposes of this assessment, they chose not to count schools. So there are areas of the community that don't show up as being served here, but do have schools within range. So just looking at how the assessment tool is being built. A second outcome looks at demonstrating that housing units are within a half-mile walk distance of a public space or park based on population density. And so what they wanted to see is, based on a low-density community like Des Moines, that 70% of our citizens were within a half-mile walk. So you'll see the map on page 3 here was a look at all access points for our park and open space system. We went through a quick analysis working with our IT department to determine where all our public access points were to our park and open space system. And then from that point, via the street or trail grid, how many people were within a half-mile of that. And doing that, we were able to determine that 67.4% of our residents live within a half-mile access point of our park and open space system. So we don't quite meet that objective yet, but we're pretty close. But what it does is we can have that map and start to see where we can improve, find ways to maybe potentially add access points, or find ways to add other parks or recreation facilities, or maybe it's ways to partner with other organizations. We were able to count schools where we have formal agreements. Brody and Hoover are 2 schools that are able to count that. So maybe there's opportunities for partnership with other schools in some of these areas that are not served based on this assessment. Outcome 3 was connectivity, demonstrating that 90% of our households were located within 3 miles of an off-road trail. That was easy. Well over the entire, all citizens of Des Moines are easily within 3 miles of a trail system. So we got all the points for that. And then finally, looking at use and satisfaction. We were able to look at surveys. The city does their biannual survey looking at user needs and satisfaction, and they said that 66% should be satisfied with your park and open space system. The most recent survey we did in 2011 said 71% of the citizens were satisfied with our park and open space system. And then finally, they had a series of 10 local actions, which are on the back of that sheet, from having a park and recreation master plan to having a park and recreation board like this today, to having volunteer events, to having special events throughout the community, really looking at your community as a whole with public spaces, and then come up with a total score of, out of 15, we scored 14.4 out of 15 points, which was a really, really good score looking through this, and it really felt it was a neat opportunity for us to go through this assessment and really look at sustainability from just this specific item. And there's a lot more that we'll be able to go through. And we're looking forward to, as they start to keep developing this and rolling this out, that Parks and Recreation will be key, is looking at natural systems and livability of the community in other ways, and alternative transportation with our trail system. So we're really excited, but wanted to kind of give you a quick preview of some of the things that we're seeing as part of that and how it gives us an opportunity to assess our programs and our public spaces. Yes?
I was just wondering why they didn't think we did number 3.
Well, we did meet number 3. Outcome number, oh.
It says local action
Number three, we felt that there wasn't on a regulatory level when new developments come in to force the dedication and creation of parks and open space. We are being very conservative. There's probably ways that we do meet that number, the objective or that local action, but we're doing kind of the run through the test process that felt that maybe we didn't meet that one without a little bit more explanation.
That'd be planning and zoning.
Yep. And the great thing is that this cuts across all the departments in the cities, from community development to parks and recreation to fire to police. It looks at how the city as a whole, public works, competes and looks at assessing and doing sustainability across the community. So it's an exciting project that we've been working with the city manager's office on and seeing how it fits into our community. And we're also finding that as we kind of test run some of these, that some of the things will change. We have a very, very talented information and technology department that do geographic information skills, and they did this map for us in this analysis. We were actually able to work with the STAR Community Program to look at some different analysis processes to find out what made the most sense. Because we do have a lot of data that some communities may not have, and so we really looked at 2 or 3 different alternatives, but we wanted to get the most detailed effort when we were doing it. So it was a lot of fun to kind of see where some of the gaps in our system might be, or where there might be other opportunities to partner with schools and other agencies. Yeah.
I'm sorry, not to belabor this.
No.
I didn't understand. So all the departments scored this, or what work product is this? Who did this?
We worked with the city manager's office and the STAR Community Program to go through the public spaces and score that based on their objectives and goals. So based on all the local actions that we meet, and then outcomes 1 through 4, we scored 14.4 out of 15 total possible points in their draft run.
I think the city's looking at this from the very beginning, initial stages. We wanted to see kind of do a beta test and see where we were going to fall in and see what kind of commitment this would be for this entire citywide program. So we took our department's business and looked at where we would be interrelaying with this program and said, let's just do a quick score. Again, let's make sure we're unbiased. We'll involve the city manager's office and make sure we look at this from a holistic approach. And here's where we're at. And I think all the departments are getting close to doing the same thing. That way the mayor and council can set priorities and develop a strategy for implementation. But we thought it was great news to share with you that we're already well ahead of the curve. So,
thank you.
Anything else from anybody? Okay, thank you, Richard. Great report.
I'll ask Julie Hempel to come up and talk about the next 3 items that are very well related.
Chairman Galloway, members of the Park and Recreation Board, Julie Hempel, Horticulture Inspector. I'm going to talk about 3 things pretty quick here. Most of them you've heard of them before, but just going to have a quick reminder. Our neighborhood flower program distribution will take place May 17th and 18th. If you don't know much about the neighborhood flower program, it started many years ago, and we offer free flowers, free flowering annuals to neighborhoods and nonprofits. And this year we have 57 groups that are receiving free plants. We've worked with IT and created a great Google Doc, which has saved a ton of staff time on inputting the orders, but we've also then tried to capture the volunteer hours. So this year they're estimating that they're going to spend 670 hours volunteering on planting annuals in the right-of-way and on nonprofits throughout Des Moines. So that's something new that we're trying to really capture and move forward. It's going to be about 70,000 annuals that will be distributed to the neighborhoods and to the nonprofits. So we are asking them to come to Chesterfield Community Center, 2501 Southeast Maury, Friday the 17th from 9 to 2:30, and Saturday the 18th from 9 to 2:30. And if they are not able to make those times, they can email myself at flowers@dmgov.org, and we can work something out with them. It works out great. We have, moving on to the perennial divide, if you are eager to get out into your garden and transplant or divide or just remove some plants that you're just not liking so much, this is a great chance to come and donate these flowers to the greenhouse. And on the same day as our neighborhood flower and nonprofit pickup, we hold and house these flowers outside in the greenhouse, and so then they're offered up to the nonprofits. So we've had many schools, South Park neighborhood, that great intersection on East 14th and McKinley, they've received a lot of perennials. So we just try to just keep benefiting the community and the greenhouse in that way. And so we are starting to take donations on Friday, the 17th, until Saturday morning. We ask nonprofits and neighborhoods to come after 10 o'clock because we seem to get a big rush around 9. And then we have a better selection, and so it's kind of first come, first serve. We just ask that people ID and put the sun requirements on the plant and bring it into a container, and we'll take note, and anything's accepted. So I'm very excited about that. Any questions on that one? Okay. And then the last thing, we have a busy weekend on this weekend, is the annual native plant sale at Grace Lake. I have put it on the monitor there. So they will, it'll take place again Friday and Saturday, Friday 2 to 6 and Saturday 10 to 3. All the plugs are $1.25, and the sale's coordinated with Iowa Native Lands and the parks. So it's a great thing if you want to add natives to your landscape. Any questions? All right, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Lots of great information there. Good job.
Minnie Moore has the next 2 items.
Good evening, Chairman Galloway, members of the Park and Recreation Board. I'm Mindy Moore, Park Planner 2, and I'm going to tell you about Bike Month. As you may know, Bike Month is coming up in the month of May, and the Des Moines Bike Collective is actually the presenting host of Bike Month, but the City of Des Moines Parks Department is one of the major sponsors of the event. So some things that they're doing new this year is they have developed this passport that has inside of it all the different events that go on throughout the month. Several of these are events that are Des Moines Parks and Recreation events, including the Mayor's Annual Ride. So they actually started a little bit early. They started this last Saturday because the Mayor's Annual Ride was this last Saturday. And you can get a stamp for everything that you participate in. Once you collect a certain number of stamps, there's various prizes that you can get when you turn in your passport with those stamps. Some of the other events that are Des Moines events is one of their Handlebar Happy Hour events that they have every Friday during the month of May. One of them will be at Grays Lake Park, and that is Friday, May 17th. So that is the Handlebar Happy Hour. And then also at Grays Lake is Yoga in the Park on Saturday, May 25th. So another Bike Month event. And one that is very important that I want everyone to know about is the National Bicycle and Pedestrian Documentation Project, where we count bikes and pedestrians on our trails and on some of our streets. And we look for volunteers to help do those counts and pass out survey cards so we can estimate annual usage of our trail system. So if people participate in that project, they get a stamp also for participating. Also, as an added incentive to participate in that is we are giving Zombie Burger gift cards, $10 gift card if you volunteer once, and if you volunteer twice, you can get a second Zombie Burger gift card, or you can get a MAR registration for next year for free, which is worth $20. So the one other thing with Bike Month is they've done this passport, or I'm sorry, this insert in the business record this year. So this went out to 8,700 copies of this were made. And it has on the back all of the events throughout the month of May for Bike Month. So I wanted to share that with you. And if you want one of these, let me know, or just go to one of the Bike Month events. You can go to bikemonthiowa.com, and everything is on there. We also have a link from our dmparks.org. From our page, there's a link to the Bike Month website. So any questions about Bike Month? Okay. The other item is that we have received an Environmental Impact Award for the Parks and Recreation Department. The Environmental Impact Award is put on by the Center on Sustainable Communities, Des Moines Waterworks, the Greater Des Moines Partnership, and Metro Waste Authority, and Mid-American Energy, and they work together to recognize organizations that are doing sustainable practices. So they have different categories for businesses, also for governmental, and nonprofit, non-governmental, as well as built environment for both residential and commercial. So we submitted an application on behalf of the department, and we were awarded the award for the governmental portion of that. Some of the projects we submitted for included, we did several things that our department has been working on. So we included the Grays Lake Shoreline Restoration as an example, the Sargent Park Natural Playscape, our annual tree planting efforts, And then when those were some of the capital projects. And then we went on to environmental education programs, so different environmental education programs and interpretation efforts, as well as big events like the Earth Day Trash Bash, the Walnut Creek Cash-In Trash Out, and the River Run Garbage Grab. And then we also looked at some of our planning and land management efforts. So we included the Bicycle and Trail Master Plan for supporting sustainable transportation, our natural resource inventory to help us manage our lands, our Urban Conservation Committee of the Park Board, our new position for the Natural Resource Superintendent, and just various types of land management efforts that we're undertaking, like prescribed burns and that type of sustainable land management. So all of these things come together to a very holistic approach to sustainability within the department. And several members of staff worked together, collaborated on that because it crossed over so many areas. Several people worked together.
Good work.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
We hope you're as proud as we are of this because you've actually helped us focus that area of our expertise, and you've made many policy level decisions at this table here that have made us go forward from starting an Urban Conservation Committee to saying, let's get this natural playscape going. So thank you to you too. I hope you take as much pride as we do in this award.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mindy. That's really great news you had there and 2 good reports.
Now Marlene Anderson for the Did You Know? Glendale Cemetery.
Chairman Galloway and members of the Park and Recreation Board, Marlene Anderson, Park and Recreation Supervisor. Your history lesson tonight is on Glendale Cemetery, which of course is rich in history. I want to give credit to the information that I'm going to be telling you about tonight to 2 women who gathered this information for the purpose of the new trail signage, the information hub that's a part of our trails, Uniform Trails signage program. And it will be built at Glendale Cemetery on the north end of the cemetery where the trail enters the cemetery property. So at my request, 2 members of the Des Moines Historical Society, Pat Miners and Karen Hanley, went to work on gathering information from old files and newspapers and things of that nature and put this information together. So I want to be sure to give credit to them. They've really, the Des Moines Historical Society has become an important partner in the last year of the cemeteries, as you would see would be prudent for us to partner with them. The history of Glendale Cemetery actually begins in the center of town at Woodland Cemetery. I want to set the stage for you. Of course, if you drive by much, you know that by now on the arch it states that it was established in 1848. And at the turn of the following century, Des Moines had grown to the point where the cemetery was filling very rapidly, and the city fathers began looking for additional property. They wanted to fill the need for the future the growth of the city, and so they were looking west. Woodland Cemetery, the photo that we have here is of the entrance that had been built. It was on Woodland, and this is the actual gateway into the cemetery. I'll wait until
Keep going.
Susan's able to go. Okay. Oops. They purchased property in 1896 from Ebenezer Ingersoll, who's now interred at Woodland Cemetery. And that was out west at that time, and 190 acres of farmland were purchased for $200 an acre. That sum total of that would be a $38,000 purchase. So if you are familiar with Woodland Cemetery or Glendale Cemetery and know how very large it is and seems, of course it's 190 acres, but that's quite a purchase for the Park and Recreation Board at that time. It really had a very contentious start, however. It was not a popular choice among a lot of people. First of all, Woodlawn was the original name given to the cemetery, and there were only a few scraggly oak trees that had boughs. This is according to the articles that we have found, with the boughs reaching to the ground, the volunteer boughs growing from the ground up. That made them so ugly. And there were large boulders that had to be blasted out of the ground in order to try to clear space. It would take a horse and carriage a day's ride to go out there and back, so it was not favored by the funeral home directors. You see here a horse-drawn carriage that was used at that time, of course, the hearse, for the services. There was a really close call. There was so much, the choice was met with such disfavor that after only 2 payments to the Ingersolls, people were pushing back so much that they started pointing across the roadway at that point to a purchase that the city had made, the Parks Department had made in 1894, and that property is now Waveland Golf Course. So they advocated for that to be the cemetery property rather than the Ingersoll property. Today we have 2 Great Park properties, but we nearly did not have Waveland Golf Course. The deal stuck though, however the name didn't. Out of sentiment for his mother, the then mayor, Brenton, persuaded the city council to name the cemetery after his deceased mother, whose maiden name was Glenn with 2 N's. So they did, and in one meeting, no repeat meetings, went with the name of Glendale. After that point, then Mrs. Cubits was buried in Lot 1 in 1904. That lot is on the east fence line of the cemetery in what is now Block 14 and Section 56. Now over 100,000 people are interred at Glendale Cemetery. Somewhere along the line, the second N and the name was dropped, of course, and we have our current name of Glendale Cemetery. For those, hopefully all of you have been at Glendale Cemetery one time or another, and you know that there are a couple of iconic structures or features at the cemetery, and one is the Abbey. It's right inside off of University now. At that point, of course, there was only a dirt road, and the Iowa Mausoleum Company purchased, not from us, but from Mr. Ingersoll, 3/4 of an acre of land for the construction of a mausoleum. And that structure was built in 1912. You see it in that era, and then also today's. It was said at that time that the structure was too big for a city the size of Des Moines. It contained 600 full crypts and 110 cremation urn niches. The city purchased it when the Mausoleum Company went bankrupt in 1932. And of course, you can all relate to the fact that when facilities and the cemeteries fill up, the income stops, and so you have to continue to maintain it. That's the case with several of our cemeteries, as you well know. The other iconic facility there, actually one of them, is there are thousands of iconic structures in Glendale Cemetery, but another one is certainly the pond, the lake as it was called, and we are now calling it Lake View. The new columbarium structure is Lake View. That, along with the roadways, were built by the WPA in 1938 and 39. Stormwater is what fills the lake. If you've been out there in the last week or so, you can see that our engineering department has drained the lake to repair some sewer lines that run underneath the pond. And then the rainfall already has refilled it a couple of times in the last week to 10 days, but natural rainfall will refill it again. facility that is somewhat iconic, especially for those people of the Catholic faith, is the altar, the Catholic altar. The Catholic Church owned the cemetery area contiguous to Glendale, and they deeded that property to the city in the 1940s. While on the topic of faith, I will also tell you that there are 2 other adjacent cemeteries to Glendale, and that's confusing to a lot of people. You'll see another iconic religious symbol, and that is the entrance to the Jewish cemetery, which is on the southwest corner of the cemetery. And it's 6 acres, and it is managed and owned by the Jewish synagogues in the city, and they handle all of their own burials and things. Their entrance, primary entrance, is through Glendale, but there is another entrance off of University. The other cemetery contiguous to Glendale is the Masonic Cemetery, and that is 29 acres. And they likewise manage that facility and take care of all their own roadways and things. Other special sections in the cemetery include the military sections include Civil War and Spanish-American War in both World War I and II sections. Also, there are 2 other faith sections in the cemetery. That's the Islamic section and the Taidam section. And so those, and we've discussed that in other meetings previously, that they purchased the rights to have a dedicated area in the cemetery for their interments. And then also there are several infant sections in the cemetery. Des Moines Municipal Cemeteries includes, of course, 7 cemeteries, and if you can imagine, Glendale is youngest only second to Laurel Hill. So all of our other cemeteries were founded prior to the founding of Glendale, and Laurel Hill was founded in 1907. So with that, I would entertain any questions that you might have. Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Marlene. Fantastic report. Good job. Lots of good information there.
Marlene, where is Sims Cemetery?
It's located just directly east of the State Fairgrounds on University. So I think it's about 35th. It's a nondescript roadway that goes up into the cemetery, and we have not had any burials there for decades. And what you'll find there are pioneer families, especially the Dean family, as in Dean Avenue. And you'll see that there are whole families that their tombstones just mark their deaths due probably to various diseases that took out whole families. Very small cemetery.
In Oak Grove, isn't that the one on the southwest side?
Yes. Oak Grove there was a Lutheran church located at that site, and the church burned, and the congregation moved or disbanded, and the cemetery was left there. And as you also know, when there's a financially defunct cemetery that's within the municipality by state law, that municipality must take over the operation of the facility. So that's the case with 4 out of our 7 cemeteries. And there are a couple of others that are maybe in the future in the area. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Marlene.
Test is next month.
Any questions for Ben about his report or about anything? Okay, thanks, Ben. Good report. Next, we'll move on to item A for board action, hearing on the proposal to rename the Birdland Shelter as the J.N. Ding Darling Shelter House, and then a vote on our recommendation to the City Council.
Just like last month when it came to the East Side Dog Park, named after now Reno, which council did affirm your recommendation. This is the same thing. You need to have a public hearing, let those in the audience or from the public say their pieces if they're here, and then you have your discussion. And if you are so inclined to make a recommendation, we can move that forward.
Okay, first let me make sure that everyone got a copy of the letter that Cindy Fanter provided. A couple of you arrived late, maybe you didn't get the letter. Susan probably didn't get one. John, did you get one? Anybody else that did not get one? Okay. So we'll have that be as part of our record. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to talk about this? Either for or against? No one in the audience? Last call? Okay, no one in the audience to talk about this, so we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And any discussion?
Long overdue honor for this gentleman, and I'm surprised there haven't been other situations like this, but actually it's kind of embarrassing that it's taken this long.
Well said, Dick.
Presuming the city council does approve this, we will have a little nice ribbon cutting ceremony, and we'll invite you. And just want a special thanks to our staff member, Richard Brown. He really kind of chased this through the system, and he's the one that said, hey, we really need to get going on this too. He'd heard it just like you'd heard it in the past, and so, you know, we all have a lot of priorities in our day-to-day business, and this probably wouldn't have been a top priority, but he made sure it got through, so thanks to Richard.
Anything else from anyone? Any kind of comments, suggestions, reactions? Okay, so just to clarify, the motion would be to rename the Birdland Shelter as the J.N. Ding Darling Shelter House. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Rebecca, would you call the roll, please?
Galloway.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Gelb.
Yes.
Ogle.
Yes.
Facto.
Yes.
Kaney Vanderhart.
Yes.
Nolan.
Yes.
Cahill.
Yes.
Passick.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Scavo.
Yes.
Thornton.
Yes.
Feltner.
Yes.
It is unanimously approved. Next, we'll move on to item B for board action, the appointment of golf committee members. Ben, would you
We have a
start that off?
Absolutely. As you know, we have a official subcommittee of the golf committee. You have 3 members from the park board, Paula, Dick, and Carol. All 3 serve in that capacity as official board members. And we've always worked really hard to try to fill that capacity of numbers, and we've always never really had that ability to fill those many slots. I want to thank Paula. She's actually done a great work trying to help us fill these, and it's long overdue, so thank you for your ability to find people. I know that Carol can speak this as well, that we've tried for years. So we have 3 names out here that I think would be great for the committee, and that all bring in a different set of skills to this committee that would be helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think they'll do a good job too. They're all good golfers.
That's a good thing.
More than I can say for myself.
So is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further comments? Are we ready to vote? Okay, Rebecca, would you call the roll, please?
Galloway.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Gelb.
Yes.
Ogle.
Yes.
Facto.
Yes.
Kaney Vanderhart.
Yes.
Nolan.
Yes.
Cahill.
Yes.
Passick.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Scavo.
Yes.
Thornton.
Yes.
Feltner.
Yes.
It is unanimously approved. Next, we'll move on to item C for board action, the appointment of the nominating committee. And I'll give you some background here. The terms of officers and executive committee members ends on June 30th. And all the positions are open for election this time, including chair. I'm not a candidate for any position. We're supposed to have a minimum of 3 members on the nominating committee, which the chair names. So I have, to start off with 3, to make sure we at least have 3, I nominated Marion Gelb, Vicky Facto, and myself. I haven't been on the nominating committee for about 10 years, and I don't have any, I'm not a candidate, so I thought it was okay to appoint myself. And then also, if there's any other volunteers on the board who want to be on the nominating committee, we'll be glad to add you. Is there anyone else who wants to be on the nominating committee? Okay. Hearing none. And then immediately after our board meeting, the nominating committee will have its initial meeting, just as sort of a kickoff meeting. And if anyone is interested in any position, I'd recommend that you let us know, well, before you leave. That doesn't mean that you can't tell us later, but it'd be in your interest to let us know sooner rather than later. Okay, no one else wants to be on the nominating committee? Okay, is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, the motion, to clarify, is to nominate Marion Gelb, Vicky Facto, and myself. Are we ready to vote on that? Okay, Rebecca, would you call the roll, please?
Galloway.
Yes.
Jensen.
Yes.
Gelb.
Yes.
Ogle.
Yes.
Facto.
Yes.
Keeney Vanderhaar.
Yes.
Nolan.
Yes.
Cahill.
Yes.
Passick.
Yes.
George.
Yes.
Scavo.
Yes.
Thornton.
Yes.
Feltner.
It also is unanimously approved, and how this will play out, at the next board meeting in May, the nominating committee will issue its report on the recommended slate, but we won't actually vote. So that's just sort of a heads up for people to think about, and we'll vote to receive and file, and we can discuss it, but there won't be an official vote on the positions until the June meeting. And then at that time, we'll officially vote to fill the positions.
Joe, I'll mention, I put a lot of thought into it, and you're going to be some big shoes to fill. I don't know who's going to really do everything you did, but I have thought about it, and I've recently stepped back from another organization, the Greater Moines Music Coalition. I was a longtime board president. Talked with my family about it, and I'd be willing to put my head in the ring for potential nominee for board chair if it were the prerogative of the board.
Okay, thanks, Lloyd. Okay, and if anyone else wants to come up at the end of the meeting, be sure you do so. Okay, moving on to receive and file item D, the wading pool proposed season schedule.
Well, certainly in your purview every year is to approve our recommended schedule of the operations of the aquatic season, and we have a staff recommendation in here for you for the aquatic center swimming pools from June 6th through August 18th, with Northwest Aquatic Center opening early for Memorial Day weekend. As you know, we always pick one pool to open it early. It's because of staffing. We can't get the kids out of their graduation ceremonies and back from college in time to open all 5. It takes a state-required amount of people to be here, so we can guarantee that we can open one pool. And we also try to extend the season by keeping one pool open later. You'll see in here, too, that teach-out has been that pool to stay open to the end of the season. So again, that rotates every year. We try to make sure we're just keeping that going through, so it's a fair rotation. That's our recommendation to you. You'll see that there's other information here too as well that regards, the state fair and what we see as decline in attendance, and that's why we get to our recommendation. So, open for questions.
Okay, is there a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Now, Ben, will this come back? Oh, Marion, you have a question?
Well, I just have a couple of questions. You refer to traditional wading pools. Those are staffed, is that correct, during the summer period? The novelty pools are not staffed?
Why don't we have Steve Dawson come up? There are, or Brian, you're going to come up? There are, yes, there is a yes to that answer, but he'll explain it better.
Okay.
Chairman Galloway, members of the Park and Recreation Board, Brian Becker, Park and Recreation Superintendent. Your first question on the traditional pools, those are the saucer pools. They are staffed. The novelty pools, they are, and then we also have a splash pad that you'll see out in our system too that is new. Those are not staffed.
Okay.
Anything else?
Well, this really doesn't pertain to this, but could you give us a brief comment on how all the pools are being updated for handicapped accessibility for this year?
There's an ADA committee that is doing reviews department-wide in all of our facilities. Specifically, I do not have an update for that. But
I think Robin does behind you. Robin Liebler, Aquatic Manager.
Hi, Chairman Galloway, members of the Park and Recreation Board. Robin Leeper, Recreation Supervisor. We have 5 swimming pools, 2 swimming pools, 3 aquatic centers in our, under, I guess, my supervision. Our 3 aquatic centers are 0 depth entry. And we also we're in the process now of putting lifts in those. So that is our second means of entry into those pools, in and out.
Thank you. That's an update required by the ADA, and we're in the process of getting it done for our pools.
Yes, and there are other, besides just entry into the pool, there are other updates that are happening with parking lots throughout the whole system.
Okay, thank you, Rob.
So, yeah. Any other questions about pools?
Okay, thanks, Robin. Thanks, Brian. Any other questions from anyone? Comments?
To answer your question, this will come back for your board action next meeting.
Oh, okay. So we'll have another crack at it
Next
month.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Hopefully by then, it'll be time to think about pools and nice warm weather, so cross your fingers.
Right, yeah. Okay. Oh, Mary.
Well, I just wanted to comment that I liked the idea of keeping a couple of wading pools open a little bit later, especially since the traditional wading pools close so early. Good idea.
Thank you.
Good comment. Okay, are we ready to vote to receive and file? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is received and filed. Next, we'll move on to receive and file item E, the 2012 golf report.
I've met Salvador coming up. As you know, that Matt has taken over the responsibility of managing golf as I have moved on to the different position that I have now. This golf, just a brief summary, is still proven to be very effective for us. Right now, you see that the numbers the rounds are continuing to be on a nice pace. On page 2 of your report, you can see that we hit 97,000 rounds last year compared to the year before when we hit 80,000 rounds. Our operator wanted to be here today, but he just couldn't make it. That's Ned Scheider, as many of you know. But the 97 rounds continues to be an increase, and he tells me that the most interesting fact about those 97,000 rounds to him was, as he's been in over golf since the 70s for us, mostly at blank, he cannot recall a day where we did not close due to rain or something weather-related last year, and last year was the first year we did not close golf one day. So as you can see, money-wise too, this has been, again, a really successful partnership with our operator. We continue to make money on this deal, and it continues to be good golf. The golf committee, as well as the citizens that do leave us notes, have all been positive. I would open it too to questions for Matt or comments from our golf committee members that see this more often.
I don't really have any comments. I liked the report. I think it gave a really good overview of everything. And I think Ned has done a great job.
Thank you.
I would echo that as a member of the golf committee. I think it's a pleasure to work with staff that's on the golf committee and the other committee members, and it's been a really good experience. And I think Chidos as a group have done an excellent job.
Sure.
I just had one question. There's reference in the letter relative to a business interruption credit that was settled for $250,000. What is that? I wasn't aware of negotiations relative to that.
It's better for me to answer that one because Matt came in at the end of this one. So during the time that we built the new clubhouse, we signed an agreement for C Corporation to begin operating Grandview Golf Course in Waveland. And at that time, we were very transparent with each other, both the city and the operator, that we knew we were going to build a clubhouse. And at some point, he was going to be without a clubhouse, which is going to reduce his payment to the city. He, just to have you a cliff notes, he pays based on a percentage of sales in rounds. And he owes us a set amount, a minimum, if you will. So he wanted to negotiate, if he lost that, that we would pay him to help pay that back to the city. So when he was out with the clubhouse, it kind of snowballed to the point when we knew we were building the clubhouse, we didn't know that we would evolve the project to the benefit of the community, which was a new parking lot, which related to moving a green back, so we lost a hole. So we became a 17-hole golf course, and with all the competition for golf courses in this community, in this metro area, if you're going to pay the same or you're going to pay anybody out to go golfing, you're going to want to go for 18 holes. It's kind of a magical thing. You have to have 18 holes. So we became a 17-hole course. We gave him an interruption based off of a 5-year average on what he would have seen at Grandview. Then we looked at a statistical analysis that we agreed to in the contract ahead of the game without the clubhouse, using, again, revenue benchmarks of an average. And then we talked about losing his parking. As you know, we got a great new parking lot, but when you took the parking lot away, there wasn't any real good area to park at. The street was not a very good area because it was on a hill and you couldn't see safety issues, and people didn't want to be transported from the park back over to the clubhouse. So, a long story short, we all came together through the city manager's office, took it to the city council and said, this is what we've come up with. This is the fairest way to do this, we believed, and said, let's move forward now with this great new clubhouse and make sure that he's whole, and at the end of the day, we're all whole. Long story short.
Good, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I've been receiving a lot of questions and comments about the Bright Clubhouse at Grandview from neighbors in my community about, the restaurant being closed, and when they call there, they're getting different responses from whoever answers the phone, and I certainly think we need to clarify what's going on there.
Absolutely.
Because I heard from several people different responses they've gotten, and they're not real complimentary.
Right.
So
we'll talk to the operator. Contractually speaking, there's no contractual item in our contract that will require him to have a certain number of operations in the kitchen during the off-season. I think that's where most of the complaints that I've heard too, is that it started, but the business flow wasn't there according to the operator. It started off really great, and then it fizzled out a little bit, and he has his reasons, we have our thoughts too.
It's comments about the signage that have been made that.
After the same line. And the signage is a tough one. As we know, we're working on signage in general for neighborhood associations, and I've purposely not approved a sign because I think we need to answer the sign which we're working on behind the scenes. Many of you know about this right now with our neighborhoods, and that will give us a little bit of a benchmark on what you want and what the council will approve too. And the good thing about the signage for Ned was his only concern was he wanted that temporary sign up during the time the golf season was not in place, so the winter months. He was worried that people wouldn't realize he was open. And we've got some ideas that we're going to work with the operator and be back to you hopefully in the near future with the overall signage proposal that would help us answer that question as well. But yes, I agree.
But as a member of the golf committee, I do think it's appropriate to talk to the operator about what responses are given to the public, because that is a public facility.
Absolutely. We'll make a note and we'll have a quick conversation in the morning with him to make sure that it's clear that the message is the same. Matt's got to go make a phone call. So.
Thanks, Matt. Any other comments or questions?
I do have.
Yeah, Carol.
We're talking about the sign. When is the sign committee meeting?
Absolutely. What we did was the city manager's office had a proposal that I delivered to them, that we created a little subcommittee. We had our first meeting last Thursday.
Oh, good.
And we're hoping to meet again, not this Thursday, but the Thursday or the Friday after now, so next week.
Good.
And hopefully we'll be back in front of you. Whatever this committee comes up with, we'll come back to the park board, and it'll be your job to approve it or to deny it. But either way, it'll go to the city council after that.
Who are the members of the subcommittee again?
Absolutely. We have a staff team, which is myself, our urban planner, Erin Olson Douglas. You've met her before on Nolan Plaza presentations. Mike Ludwig, he is the staff liaison to the Planning and Zoning Commission, so he understands good zoning questions and neighborhood backgrounds. Then we have two attorneys that are, well, not committee members, but just resources. We have Andy Donato and Roger Brown, who represents the Planning and Zoning Commission. Then we have a park board member, Susan Nolan. We have a Des Moines board member, Des Moines Neighbors board member. That's Mr. Schoenberger, who happens to be on that board as well. Two council members, Chris Coleman and Bob Mahaffey. And then last but not least, I have Kim Hansen. I think that's everybody.
And a guest.
And we had a guest.
Okay, on the golf report, anything else? Are we ready to receive and file? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is received and filed. Okay, now we'll move on to the last item for any questions or announcements, but I do have one thing to begin with. Susan, you have an important role here, believe it or not. Before you arrived, let me back up for background. At our July meeting, Ragbri will be in town that night, so we can't have our park board meeting that night. So the two candidates, most likely candidates to move the meeting to would be, they're both a Wednesday. One is July 24th, and one is July 31st. And before you got here, we surveyed the members, and it came down to a tie vote, in effect. One person was going to be going on the 24th, and one person was going to be gone on the 31st. So you're sort of the tiebreaker.
I'm, either 24th or 31st is fine with me. It's always the 4th, so why would you do the 24th? It's always the 4th Tuesday, so why do we do the 4th Wednesday?
Okay, so
I don't
so Ben, do you have any preferences from the staff standpoint?
Staff's perspective we'll make whatever you need to make work. Obviously, we'll have a long night the night before. So, but no, either way, it does work for us. You know, most of the work we do for a board meeting happens well before the board meeting. So if you see some red eyes, that's the only thing you'll notice different with us.
Would you want to do the 31st? That gives you a little breathing time.
You know,
I think if we can keep it away from
Yeah.
the whole RAGBRAI week here, I think that'd be best.
We're open to work with whatever your calendars.
You might have some board members with some bloodshot eyes.
Exactly. I'm sure we might have a lot of us, though.
Yeah, let's do the
If you're willing to be here, we're willing to be here.
Then we can do
We appreciate whatever you would like to do.
breathing time.
Yeah, do the 31st, it makes much more sense.
Seems to be kind of the way the wind is blowing. I guess we don't have to vote on that, but it sounds like the sort of the informal consensus is to do it Wednesday the 31st.
Same time, 5.
The same time, same place?
Yep.
Right here?
Yep, we'll send an email out from Rebecca's office in short order this week to make sure that we get the rest of the members that aren't here.
Okay, so tentatively plan on that, July 31st, Wednesday. Okay, anything else from anyone about anything?
I would just like to say that I've gotten a lot of positive responses, the flags on the Riverwalk.
Yeah.
And I, of course, live right there, and the number of people, even though it rained a lot, and I felt sorry about that, but a lot of people came down to see them, and I think it was very cheerful, and people have really enjoyed it. And I know it was a tremendous amount of work, because I saw a lot of your flags, putting them up, and I know it was tremendous. Thank you. But what an effort, and thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, very cool.
Mother Nature has tried its best to knock them down, but we're out there.
Poor little things.
Speaking of
But they still look cute. I really like them.
Speaking of Riverwalk, I was out for a run along the Riverwalk this last weekend, and twice actually I noticed around the new pavilion that they just opened, there's a couple of bricks that are not well laid, and you're going to have a runner trip.
Well, you know, the other thing that's happening is the skateboarders, and I guess this is a pitch for a skateboard park, because the skateboarders are launching off that, and a couple of them are chipped. And it's wonderful to watch them, because they're doing acrobats and things, but they need a skate park up the river.
That's a great feedback, and we've known about the skating issue, and we're working with our engineering department to do a quick analysis and put out a little bid package to do some deterrence for that. We'll check on those pavers. We did not have that on our radar, so thank you. So keep us posted with your eyes and ears. We need all the help we can get. Last night, the city council approved the HubSpot concessionaire agreement with Mike Laval, so stay tuned. We're hoping to get that going real soon, and you'll see something operating out of there too. I have one small announcement if nobody else does.
Any other questions or announcements from anybody about anything?
When are we going to get the permanent fencing at the dog park on Ewing Park?
Absolutely, that's on our radar too. It's just been too wet. The contractor's ready to go, the paperwork's all signed. The nice installation is they'll actually install that black piece where the gray fence is while the gray fence is up, so you don't have to worry about people getting in and out. They'll take the gray stuff down and take it away, so yep. Thank you. I'm glad you're keeping an eye on that too.
Okay, then Ben has something.
Just a really brief comment for you. We do usually bring our large jobs to you. We have an opening. The assistant director position I had is the terminology is now a deputy, which is the same pay grade. It hit the streets today. So if you know of anybody interested in a really great job, joining a really great team with yourself and our team, you don't have to have a park and rec background, but you just take a look at it. And it's on the city website, and help us get a quality person. So we're trying to get a good recruitment going. And we've worked with our friends at Iowa Park and Rec Association. They'll be putting that on their website tomorrow too, as well as NRPA.
Okay, great. Anything else from anybody? Last call. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.